Oh my God. You think that's a basic question?
Very basic.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
All right. So I think it's a good spot to let's go. Let's just do it.
Totally.
All right.
Let's do it.
So this is how I normally start things. I just start saying words and then hopefully I get to.
That's the best way to start it, I think.
Okay. I want to welcome everybody today to Do You Know Designers. Today we have on a very special guest, also in Phoenix. So this is the first, I think second time we've had someone also on who's local. But this is Do You Know Designers, a podcast / show, random questions, all of the things, showing the personal side of designers instead of just being people who spit out logos and designs all day. So that's kind of what this is about. It's a chill. I'm going to ask some random questions, some hard questions, some crazy questions, some wild questions, some serious questions. All the questions is what we're going to do. So if you do enjoy this and want to support what I'm doing, like and subscribe on the YouTube channel and podcasts. See, she's on it. Yeah. But today we have Audrey. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Yes.
A lot of people say Aubrey. They just totally disregard the D that's in my name. So Audrey, yeah, that's the most ideal answer.
How do you say your last name?
Stemen.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, Stemen?
I know, I get that one. Yeah.
Isn't that wrong. A part of a bee or something?
I think, yeah, it's like part of a flower, I think.
Okay,
yeah. In a biology book, I get Stemen a lot. So Stemen is right on the money. Yeah.
Dope. Yeah. So we have Audrey here today. She's going to go on and she's going to do the gauntlet of all my questioning. So, which will be fun. But can you tell us a little about yourself to kind of kick everything off?
Absolutely, I can. I'm Audrey Stemen. God, I'm trying to think of what the next precursor item of my identity is. I live in Phoenix, Arizona with my now fiance, Justin Havey. We lived in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio for the last, I was there for maybe 6+ years or so for college. I went to Columbus College of Art and Design for advertising and graphic design. It's a mouthful. I used to be an illustration major for one semester and found out I hated it. Fun fact. And that's mostly what I do. So I think it's kind of a funny turnaround. But with ad graph, we ended up just being able to do whatever we wanted, and it was much more fun. We have a rescue dog named Rocky. He's turning 5 on Sunday. Big day.
That is huge day.
I'm trying to think. In terms of design, my focus is kind of more in illustration, general graphic design stuff, and more recently in the last couple of years, been trying to incorporate more motion design into my work. Yeah. So kind of that conglomerate of the holy trinity of those three things in terms of design, but it's kind of all over the place. I'm trying to kind of focus more into entertainment and esports and gaming and just kind of entertainment in a general sense. But
for sure,
I think that's about it.
Yeah, your work is killer.
Oh, thank you.
It's so good. I was and then you're putting out content and everything, and I was like, I aspire to do what she does because she's killing it. How are you
killing yourself doing this?
Yeah, I'm like, how are you doing all of this? It looks amazing. The content you put out is great. And it covers a wide gamut. Like you said, you're trying to hit all the things, and it's you're doing it. So it's pretty cool to watch. I love finding people who are just as passionate about this stuff as I am.
Totally.
So, or even more passionate and doing more, because it makes me I gotta do more. But
the drive. Yeah, the drive is real. Yeah, for sure.
For sure. How'd you find yourself in Phoenix?
So my boyfriend, Justin, at the time, we were in Columbus. We were dating for about 2 years, I think, at that point. Had an apartment, just got our rescue dog, and yeah, I think I had just gone freelance at the time, and we were just kind of so what's next? We've been in Columbus for however many years now, and we kind of done all that we needed to do here. and it was just kind of, we always wanted to eventually kind of move just in the out west general area, not specifically, not really sure where exactly, but we love the outdoors, and just kind of wanted to have that opportunity to just see more in general, because we've lived on the East Coast all our lives. So yeah, it was just kind of like, I think this is our next chapter time. And then we literally decided it in March of 2021, and then by late May, we were driving our asses out here and pitch. Yeah, it was a very spontaneous decision. One I don't recommend for most people to decide in a couple months because of the lease ending in June. So, but nonetheless, we did it. It was awesome. Really, really cool experience.
Did you just throw darts at a map? Is that how
oh my
you
God. We actually talked about Boise, Idaho for a second, and that's still on the table. We don't know if Phoenix is going to be our forever home or anything, but we've talked about Boise, which it's funny. Like, we've never been to Idaho. I've never been to Idaho. Like, we don't know anything about it, but it's just kind of like, oh, that sounds cool. We're not going to California ever, probably. But yeah, just West Coast, West area.
That's dope. Like, I love that, because most people, you don't find that, like, especially nowadays, it's like, well, a job brought me here, or my family was here, but to just be like, we got whatever we want to do. I love that.
We picked the location, and then Justin had to find a job out here. So that was a whole other layer of stress, and just like the clock was ticking, but yeah, it worked out really well.
Dope. What type of work does he do?
He's a videographer and photographer and editor, all that kind of stuff. So that's another part of our relationship I love, is we're kind of like, I'm the design, illustration, he's like photo, video, and marries things very well, I think. So y'all could
just, with a backpack and a camera and a computer, y'all could just
your own
studio. That's
yeah, exactly.
That's so dope. Me and my wife kind of do that stuff too. Like, awesome. Yeah, when the pandemic happened and I started doing design more, I was the designer, and then she's always wanted to do web development. So I was like, I'll buy you a couple courses. And so I would design the websites, or we would do it together, and then she would develop them. So that's kind of been like the tag team thing.
I think web developers are just like godsends, honestly. It's the kind of work I never want to be a part of ever. And I just appreciate the hell out of the people that can do that and are very good at that. So that's awesome.
And I work 9 to 5. So when I'm just a designer there. So that means that I have to learn web design, actually learn it. And it's just been like, how do you guys think like this? Yeah. Like, it's like layout on it's just
a totally different mentality. Yeah. It really is.
And then you got to think about how people use it. It's a lot. And I'm just like, okay, I'm here to learn. Let's let's slow down a little bit. So it's and at the beginning, I didn't even want to touch the stuff. I was like, that's magic. I don't want anything to do
wizardry.
I don't want anything to do with magic. So I kind of like it now, but at the beginning, I was totally resistant.
It's an acquired taste.
Yes. Yeah. I like that.
Thank you.
That's great. Okay. So we're going to kick off the questions. Okay. These questions are random, and they will hopefully not throw you for too much of a loop. So we are going to go with question 1. Let's do this one. This one's very basic. As designers, what do you think our job is?
Oh my God. You think that's a basic question?
Very basic.
Oh my gosh. So what I've always been taught, and what I think kind of the textbook highlighted definition of a graphic designer, is to be a visual communicator at its bare bones, and that's true for sure. But I think more beyond that, I think shit, I just lost my train of thought.
You're good.
Pause so you can cut this later. I think as designers, we are kind of equipped to, over time, find our own voice, as cliche as that sounds, whatever, but finding our own voice in a visual sense, putting that through a megaphone, and kind of being a part of history in a sense, in terms of the evolution of design, and kind of being part of that I don't know, I guess evolution's like the best word for it, but being a part of just like what hasn't been done yet, even though they do say that all art is kind of repetition in itself,
sure.
Everything's reused, whatever, but still there's still things that like we haven't seen yet. And I think being designers is like, it's a very special opportunity, I think, to be a part of that and to kind of have taking what's in here and actually creating it. I think is just a complete like gift. But yeah, I think that's a very celestial answer, but
I think that's great though. It's just, you're right though. It's just, being a designer is just so complicated. There's a lot of different arms to it all. I think visual communicator, again, very basic, but you're right. It's to take in a style, create our own thing, kind of be a part of the world when it comes to communicating with each other. I always like, design is the thing that makes any type of messaging more digestible. Another facet of it that I don't think it's talked about enough is the problem solving. We have to like how we have to approach things and fix people's problems when it comes to either messaging or when it comes to like physical design. Hey, this doesn't fit on here. How do we change that? Which is actually interesting because like when I went to college for engineering. And so that's a part of my brain that I thought I would use when I got to my career in engineering. Use it this much.
The left side,
with design, exactly. I feel like we're using the whole thing. Like we're using creativity, and then we're trying to fit this into that box, and like this actual like tactile. So it's like we have a big job to do, and it's very interesting that like people don't appreciate what we're able to do. And again, and that's again why I'm doing all of this. Like we're people and we have the faculties to be able to solve big issues, especially when it comes to like communication's huge. That's
absolutely
kind of what we're here to do is like,
the thing. I think that's a really great point in terms of like how as designers, we ultimately also have to be strategists in a way where like that's a whole other title in itself, but using, like you said, both the right side and the left side of your brain of like, okay, visually, sure, that's more the right side, but does this actually work? Like, does this actually do what it's intended to do? Does it get the message across? Does it do X, Y, and Z? All that stuff. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot.
And we deserve to be compensated like
absolutely.
Yes. So on this podcast, we're here for designers' rights and compensation.
Right, exactly.
And it just turns into this radical, then my podcast turns into this radical movement, and we just all start.
And we're painting signs. Yeah. Oh yeah. At least we'll have really nicely designed signs though. I mean, at least we'll have that.
That's so funny because I feel like I've created some of the dopest designs for the worst ideas. Like things that would never take off.
That is like the ultimate curse though as a designer is like we could do anything, but at the same time we can't do anything.
Because I had a podcast before this and like super decked out, but it lasted for 2 seasons and I'm like, woo.
Yeah.
Killed the design on that, but maybe should have thought about positioning it to the right people.
All stuff that is like we live and we learn, we move on.
For sure.
Amazing.
All right, question number 2. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Such an easy answer. See, this is a basic question for me because I know the answer to this. So
I felt bad, so I wanted to pull it back a little bit.
Thank you. So, for me, it would be Germany, but more specifically countryside Germany. I don't really have a specific town or anything, but my mom, so she was in the Air Force. She retired last year, 36 years in the service, and so she kind of had some hookups to get us a Europe trip and like fly us over. I was 16 and did a whole road trip around Europe, and Germany by far was just the most like magical, like I couldn't even put it into words, but especially being that young too, and just seeing so much all at once. But we saw castles and just like the medieval historical side of things. I've just always loved that. So that's always stuck with me. But yeah, countryside Germany, lots of cows.
Dang.
Cows are my favorite. I mean, talk about an actual like retirement dream, is just to live among some cows and some goats, and that's it.
Yeah, I saw that on your about page on your website.
Yes.
It's like, if you want me to cry, put me in front of some cows.
Yeah,
And I was like,
exactly.
what?
They're called grass dogs also, which is very fitting. So
Never heard that before.
they're just like giant dogs that just live in the prairie essentially. They're the best.
That makes it sadder. You just made it sadder.
How is it sadder? They're just giant like puppy dogs.
No.
Just,
The fact that we eat them, you made the.
oh yeah, no, that's bad. Yeah, that sucks. Because I'm definitely not a vegetarian either, but yeah, they're my favorite animals. So that's whoops. Oh,
Hey,
gosh.
man. You're one person. We can't solve
I'm
the
only
world's
human. I'm
problems.
sorry. Yeah.
So
Oh,
I don't really have an answer to this question.
Really?
I will say I do like Phoenix. I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Missouri. I hate Missouri. I hate everything about Missouri. It was terrible. And I grew up there. My dad was also in the military. He was in the Army. He did his 20
nice.
years and retired there. And I went to a school on an Army base. So it was super diverse, but nothing else around there was diverse at all.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Indiana for my first job. Terrible. And it snowed all the time. People hated their lives. They were depressed. I was like, what is going on? And then I got
What is
here.
Indiana? Yeah.
No one
What is
knows.
this place? Yeah.
And so I got here and people were like, I love the sun. And I was like, the sun does feel great. And it's great to see it every day.
Yeah, exactly.
This is great.
What prompted you to move to Phoenix?
I got a job here and then that job laid me off. So that's kind of how it got everything rolling.
And now you're there. Yeah, now we're
I'm
here.
here.
Now we're neighbors. Yeah.
Yep. So, and the funny thing about it, I haven't said this at all, but I moved down here for that job and it was like down the street from where we got an apartment close to the job so I wouldn't have to drive that far. And then I got laid off and recently they tore the building down. So now the building that I moved here for doesn't even exist anymore. Isn't that trippy?
God. You're just like next to a ghost of what your past job was.
I drive past it all the time.
That is
Like,
so creepy.
it's so trippy. When they're
That's
knocking
weird.
it down, I was like, I need to take a picture. I never did because I was like, I don't care about this.
Yeah, right. Like, oh my
But-
God, that's insane.
It's trippy, and I'm like, maybe my life was supposed to go. Maybe this is the
Yeah, this is a
universe telling
sign.
me something.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I like Phoenix. And
I
were
do
you
too.
when you were a kid? Did you move around a lot? Being like,
No. So my mom, she did a lot of reserves. That was like most of her career. Yeah. So she had to be deployed a couple times in Afghanistan, I think twice, and then like DC and just kind of bits and pieces of like the US
Gotcha.
and Germany and all this kind of stuff. But she's mostly reserves. So we were in Ohio pretty much all our lives. But
got you.
yeah.
I didn't move around much either. I was born in Louisiana. Then we moved to Hawaii when I was 3.
Oh wow.
And I don't remember it at all. And
Oh,
then when I
man.
was 6, we moved to Missouri, and that was it.
Wow. That's a lot
So-
of moving. God.
I had friends in school who moved like every 3 years. Like every 3 years, they were somewhere else.
Oh
So
man.
I was just like, no.
yeah.
And then some people who were in like multiple high schools, which would be
Mhm.
terrible. High
Yeah.
school is a terrible time to break up your
Exactly.
life. Like,
Totally. Like you can't have any friends.
no.
Forget a relationship. Yeah. No. Can't
No,
imagine.
terrible. But yeah, let's move on to, was it question 3?
I think so, yes.
Okay, cool. All right, we're gonna go wilder side. What would you rather have? A chef, a masseuse, or a chauffeur for the rest of your life?
Like what would I have like in my house?
Yeah, for the rest of your
Like,
life.
what would we have? Oh my
Yeah.
God. Chef by far. Justin and I talk about this like at least like once every other week of just like, oh my God, could you imagine if we just had someone here for like the weekdays, make us just not even all 3 meals, just like lunch and dinner, because we don't make lunch ever. It's pretty much breakfast sometimes or coffee, and dinner is like where we struggle bust the hardest in terms of like meal prepping or grocery, like all of the adult things, just because we're so heads down on work for the most part. So a chef by far, but I think masseuse would be a close second though, for sure.
Yeah, I chef 100%, especially like after having a kid.
Oh yeah, I could not imagine.
I don't even want to feed myself some days, and then to have to like, here's a perfect bar and a cheese stick and an apple. Get out of here! Like
it's back to college all over again. Like no one wants that. Like we graduated college with a degree just so we didn't have to do that again.
100%. So yeah, chef would be up there. I kind of don't like driving, so I think chauffeur would be second. I hate it, and especially like, well, around here it's not bad. I feel like it's like 20 minutes to get to anywhere, but I would rather not drive. I
agree. It's funny because Justin, he actually drives us everywhere. He drives my car, but he just drives everywhere. Like we just know. I hand him the keys. I'm like, you take us where we need to go. Yeah, I am. It's actually
really funny because my wife drives us.
So we know that passenger seat life. Yeah, it's quite nice. I like it.
I had to make a deal. I was like, I'll put the kid in the car seat forever if you drive us. Yes. And she's like, deal. And I was like, nice. Okay.
Hell yeah. It's a nice deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the type of deals you get to have when you're like, when you become parents and you're like, I would rather not do this one thing.
It's the the compromise that they talk about. Yeah. Would you rather? It's just a game of would you rather.
100%.
Amazing.
All right. So we're talking about relationships and family, and you just got recently engaged.
Sure.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Would you like to share the story?
Of course I would. Who wouldn't want to share the story? Oh my gosh. Yeah. So Jess and I, we went on an Alaskan vacation. Funny story about how we chose Alaska. It was kind of a last sec, also similar to our moving story. It was just like what if we did this kind of story? And I was like, yeah, let's go for it. Do whatever. He planned the entire thing. Dang. God bless him, because there are times when I'm like, I want to be a part of every bit of that process. And then there are times where like, I don't even want to know what time we have to get up to go to the airport in the morning. So I thanked him so much for that. But he was planning this since like February. And yeah, we went to Alaska for like 10 days or so and did a lot of hiking and, Airbnbs and all kinds of stuff. And there was one part of the trip, it was kind of towards the tail end, where we went to this national forest called Chugach, and there, kind of near our campsite, there was this amazing reveal, like out of the forest to this lake. Like you couldn't even paint a better picture of just like how, like it just looked like something that wasn't real. Like it just looked fake to me. So it was just beautiful. We just kind of like hung out there for a while. We come back later, I think the day after, and their family's kind of hanging around the lake and kayaking and whatever, but they all leave. It's just Justin and I. We're taking like photos and video because he wants to do like a cool like video of Alaska and stuff of like our trip and everything. He's taking photos and video and stuff. He has the tripod set up like facing the lake, and we see a moose casually walk by. We've been complaining the whole trip of how we didn't see any goddamn wildlife, and that's what everyone talked about with Alaska. Is like, oh my God, there's bears everywhere. We didn't see anything. We saw deer or like caribou and some moose way out in the distance, like nothing really to brag home about. And then we just see a moose casually walk by like 25 yards in front of us. We're just so still. It was just such a beautiful moment. And then right after it's gone, he does the thing and it's all recorded, and it was absolutely perfect. It was just such a literal picture perfect kind of moment.
That's
sure.
So dope. That's
awesome.
Like, yeah, you can't compete with that. I proposed in the living room
Oh,
Because I couldn't well, I had the ring in my pocket and like I was gonna do it somewhere else, and I was just like, I'm tired of waiting on doing this. So
I completely agree with that, though. I think it depends on the moment. It's all about the moment. Like, if it feels right, that's what you remember the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's sick. That's like the sickest like backdrop, and then to have it all recorded. Crazy. You're never, of course, you're never gonna forget it, but you're never gonna forget it. Like,
right. Literally. Yeah.
And then you can always compare stories with other people and be like, my story's better. Like,
yeah, be like, oh, but was yours in front of like an Alaskan lakefront where there was a moose that walked by granting us a blessing to be engaged, like right there? I don't think so, but
yeah, you'll never be me. But that's so dope.
Thank you.
It was so cool that you shared it, because like I was like, dang, that's such a, like, I'm sure of course you didn't expect it, but that's like such a cool thing. I felt like I was a part of it.
Like, that's so good.
Congratulations.
I love that.
Like,
oh my god. Yeah, I feel like you were there.
That was so
that's
cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. That was really dope. So I'm glad you guys had a good time. That's
for sure.
It looked like one of those vacations where I was like, no, not for me.
Right. It's an acquired taste.
Yeah. No. Me and my wife actually talked about that. She's going to Disneyland with some of her friends in September, and I was like, not for me.
Oh my god, Disneyland is such one of those hot take like topics for me where I'm like, I don't know. Like I feel like I would only enjoy it if it was just me and Justin and just like doing whatever the hell we wanted.
Yeah.
No kids to have to wrangle around or anything. But if we did have kids and take them there, they need to be old enough to remember it. That is the biggest asterisk for me.
Is it so you don't have to go again?
Exactly. Yes. I've only heard of how expensive Disneyland is and everything.
Yeah.
So
she said I think it's what, like $600 a day? Like,
oh god.
Crazy.
Man, Mickey Mouse really raising those prices.
The mouse. They could give all the money they make from Marvel movies away then, because that's a lot of money. Like,
a lot of dough. Yep.
So, okay, next question. Okay, I think I might have added this question, but it's not a hard one. I think you'll be all right. What show? So this is streaming, TV, anything / video game, anything. Are you currently obsessed with?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that is a good question. Video. Okay, I'm trying to think. I'll have to answer both because video game and show. I think the one right now I'm obsessed with is Severance, even though it's over right now. I'm like dying for the next season. I haven't been like that with any show other than Succession. That's also a great one.
I love Succession.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I didn't expect myself to love a show like that, but it is just, it's crazy. Like,
100%.
Watch that next episode. And then in terms of video game, it's funny because I love designing for entertainment. Jess and I, we started Vandal, which is an esports organization.
I didn't know
all
that.
Kinds of design. Yeah, this was like a couple of years ago now. And we're still kind of doing some stuff, and I'm trying to make content around it and whatever. But
dope.
So yeah, it's based around gaming, but I don't even game that much because I don't know. It's a whole thing because I grew up not being allowed to play my brother's Xbox. What? So I watched games.
Yeah.
Like I watched him play games. I watch playthroughs even still now.
So, yeah.
But the game I am playing right now that I'm like itching to play again since vacation is Destiny.
Okay.
Destiny 2. Yeah, it's just very cool. I've never played a game like that before. Other than that, Minecraft is a classic. But yeah, that's kind of it. Valorant's pretty cool too. That one stresses me out though. I'm not a very good sharpshooter by any means, but I love the design and all of their marketing around it for sure. But yeah, that's it for me.
That's so dope. Yeah. I felt like I had to throw in a video game question.
Oh, totally.
Do it. Yeah. But yeah, I love Succession. I heard they started filming season 4. Mm-hmm. So excited. I've heard about Severance, but I have not watched it yet. But I heard it's like, it's unique in its own way, like one of those types of shows. So I'm excited to watch that. Have you watched Arcane?
I have not yet, but
I
I've been
think you would
bugging
love
Justin about that.
I
I've
think
been
you would
bugging
love
him
it.
about, yeah, especially, yeah, totally. I mean, it's been given all these awards, and it's just like the best animated series I've heard. And
it's so good.
It's
I
on the
watched it
list.
in like, what was it? I watched it in like 3 days,
Yeah.
which I have a kid, so I don't get to watch TV. Like that just shows how much I like just consumed it. It was so good. I was at the gym watching Arcane on the treadmills.
I need to do that. I need to download some of the episodes and just
it was so good. So Arcane was amazing. And then I just finished Stranger Things, the volume 1 of season 4. It was really good. I was very surprised. Season 2 was terrible, and then season 3 was just okay. But season 4 was, this first part they put out was really good. So
I would think so. I mean, this is kind of their wrapping up of Stranger Things, right? And the kids are getting older and everything's darker now. Like I think the darkness level increasing as they get older is such a great element. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. But yeah, I love a good dark show that's like
it's gotten like dark references to all the 80s slasher movies. Like
amazing.
They're doing the thing. Like it feels like this is what they wanted in the beginning.
Yeah.
But you know how you kind of just have to be consistent before you get to kind of do what you want.
That's what they were leading up to.
Yeah, they have 2 more episodes that come out July 1st, and then they have a whole nother season 5, which I don't know what you're gonna do after this point. Like that's what I'm like nervous about. Because I'm like, you guys have so much room, but these kids are not getting younger.
Right. Exactly. And it's also a testament to showing like how fast time goes, of just like how fast they're growing up. You're just like, oh my God. Like I remember watching this when I was like in college, and they were just like little kids, and oh God.
Like one kid's almost like 6 foot now. I'm like, how are you gonna hide him? He's gonna be an adult by the time season 5 comes out. Yeah.
You can't hide in closets now.
They put him on a basketball team to kind of blend, like cover it up. And I'm like, you're not, I got you. I see what you're doing.
Right.
Like,
they're trying to fit all the show around the kids' developments and puberty and just all of the awkward stuff.
100%. So yeah, I love that. Game wise, I'm not a big gamer, to be honest. I used to have, every time I would buy a new system, I would be like, oh, I'm gonna super get into gaming. Never did. Always just ended up giving the system to my brother.
It's a whole other grind.
Yeah, he just starts watching Netflix on it. I'm just gave you an $800 Xbox for you to watch Netflix on. So that's usually how that goes. But I do love the Switch. I feel like Switch is doing some really dope stuff. Breath of the Wild 2. I am so excited for it to come out. But there's still some time left. But Breath of the Wild, I'm obsessed with. Like I've bought all the DLC, which I don't buy DLC.
Right.
Like it's such a good game.
That's how you know that's the game for you, though. Is like when you're hooked on even the DLC stuff. Yeah.
So it's so solid. I love that game so much, and that's like the only thing I've ever really gotten into, which is
totally.
It's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
Pokemon. I will pick up a Pokemon game because it's like second nature. We've been playing Pokemon since it came out. So it's like soothing for us at this point. Like we're not even playing
nostalgia.
We're not even playing it for storyline. We're just like, Pikachu, you remind me of my teens.
Right.
Like
the nostalgic comfort that is Pokemon. Yes.
Yeah. So that's or a good Mario game. Usually where I go.
Yes.
So yeah, and then the whole portability thing of the Switch. Didn't know I was gonna love it that much. So
yeah, Jess and I've talked about getting one for like our anniversary or something, just as like, because we don't have like I grew up on the Wii, Rock Band, Guitar Hero, like Super Smash Bros, all that stuff, and we don't have that anymore. And I'm like, damn, like that's an itch I gotta scratch. It's been a long time. Been spoiled with the PC stuff.
For sure. And it's the best for like having people over.
Yes.
There's no other system that works as well for having people over. So
totally.
Yeah, you guys need to get one so we can talk about games.
Done deal. Right.
All right. Next question. So, who is your design dream client?
Oh my gosh. So I have been very blessed to be able to actually work with one of my all-time dream clients currently until next February, which is Riot Games. And
That's
totally insane way it happened too. I tell people all the time, like when people get dream clients or they see other people get dream clients, they're like, how did you do that? Like, I can't even, that's probably never going to happen to me. I responded to a LinkedIn post that one of the like creative directors from Riot had posted about, hey, we're looking for senior visual designers, freelancers, whatever. And, you know, all of these people commenting under it saying like, oh, here's my portfolio. And literally just like, okay, I know this is probably a long shot. There's so many other people. It's Riot Games. Like there's no way. I just did it anyway. And I think it was maybe a couple weeks later getting an email and it just went from there. So I tell people all the time, like, don't underestimate the power of just responding to a post, whether it's on Twitter or, you know, LinkedIn, wherever. Never know what can happen. But I would say them, but one that I want to have in the sometime eventual future would probably be Buck, with they're mostly like an animation company, kind of similar to like Giant Ant and Hornet, I think, are kind of like the big, like some of the big like animation companies, but they do a lot more too, like a lot more branding and stuff, but their animation is like the like inspiration everyone looks to when it comes to animation, and their design and just everything are just a lot of great talented people. So that would probably be mine one day.
That's sick though. It's sick to be like put those types of names on like your resume. You're like, yeah, totally, I've done that. But you're right. It's, you never know. You don't even know who you're talking to sometimes. Like, right, you could just be in the world and like, and end up speaking to someone who can change things like that. Like, totally. And put those opportunities in front of you. And that's why it's always so important to just be open to things and be open to talk to people. I feel like half of being a freelance designer is like not half of it, probably more than half of it is networking.
Yeah. Yes, the whole business development side of, it really is like mostly about relationships and just people that you know, people that know other people that you want to know. It all comes down to just the whole circle. And it's so weird because the world is such a huge place, but at the same time, there's a lot of times there can be a pretty small world at the 100%. Same time too.
Because I mean, they say most people who end up doing design work for somebody, it's because that person just knew who you were.
Yes,
like that's what's happening majority of the time, which is mind-blowing.
Right.
Which means you just have to get more people to know who you are.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that is like the other part of the grind, is just making yourself as visible as possible. And I know it's scary for a lot of people to have to make their portfolio website, clean things up. And I swear, like, the way that it's been so easy for me, I've just gradually done it over time. I didn't try to grind on a weekend and make all of this stuff, especially when our personal branding and everything changes so much. We're our own worst like critics and clients and everything. And so just giving like ourselves a break in that regard of like, let it happen over time, but just make it visible. Like, just if it's good work, people will see that and they'll want to know who you are. It's essentially bottom line.
Yeah. I feel like as of late, like I don't know. I don't feel like I have like a dream client. I have like a dream situation. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like where it's like, I love the idea of like rebranding. I know that's something that doesn't happen. Again, it doesn't happen very often. But I feel like my dream situation would be to take on a more established client who needs a rebrand or needs a new look. And then to think through the strategy of that, how to connect to people, what does the look need to be, archetypes, how do we need to communicate? Like, I love going through that full, like, the strategy part of it, and then also spin that strategy into the design aspect of it. So like a lot of the stuff I post is when I get that opportunity, because man, my mind just gets to click through all of the things and people just allow me to do that, which I appreciate so much. Like I just feel like doing this type of job compared to the job I was doing before, I have so much ability to help people. Like I have an actual skill that can change someone's life. Like you can literally yeah, you have a business, and if it's established, you can make it to a certain point. But there's a point where you do need to invest in
like we
a
hit that
branding
ceiling
situation that can actually like take you to the next level. And to be able to provide people with that and actually help people is such, it's an honor. And it's just like, how many people get to say that? Like,
dude, helping people break through that wall that can get them further. That is it's a very admirable, like, kind of niche way of branding that I actually haven't really thought about much. And I don't think a lot of people think about of like rebranding is a whole other niche, I think, when it comes to branding
100%.
and design and stuff. And it is also so admirable because I cannot imagine the amount of stress that comes with rebranding and just like the scrutiny of like the public and stuff. Like when you look at like brand new and stuff and just like the before and after and just what comes with that. But I'm sure that's a whole other like switch you just have to like turn off in your head and just carry on, you know?
There's a podcast called Change of Brand. I don't know if you've ever listened to it, but they talk to like creative directors who have recently like rebranded a company. And there was one about, I think it was Dunkin'
Nice.
Dunkin' Donuts. And they talked about how like people hated the fact that they dropped the donuts and they just shortened it to Dunkin'. And they put out their first tagline, America runs on Dunkin'. And they're like, people are already saying this. So let's just put it out there and see what people fell in love. They're like, oh, and they saw the connection. And I was just like, to have like, again, this isn't just moving pixels around. There's an aspect of like understanding how people's brains work.
Totally.
It's so valuable.
Without the people even knowing it either.
Yes.
Like, people don't realize the stuff that they say is literally the stuff that we feed on to do our jobs and to make it successful. Yeah, it's 100%. Crazy.
It's crazy. It gives me chills. Like I'm like,
Same.
So honored. I love the fact that you're like, yeah, I just put it out there. And Riot was like, yeah, you're dope. Like, that's the
best case scenario.
Yes,
I mean, literally, people are so afraid sometimes to just do that when there's no loss there.
None.
You can get everything.
Yeah. And like you were talking about like putting yourself out there. Like when I started doing this kind of stuff, I hated being on camera.
Oh, same. So much. I still do.
I was like,
yeah.
I hated it so much. I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
Something I actually think about every time I record a video is putting a year anniversary or whatever of me doing YouTube and having just a video of all the cuts of me saying like fuck to myself, like whispering like god damn it, like just stuttering and just all the mess ups that you don't see on camera and just like that progression of like how that's always going to be a thing. I think about that all the time. But
it's so funny because like I tried to film some like FAQs or something for my Instagram page the first time. You should have seen how many takes I took. Like it was like my wife was like, "It's been an hour. What are you doing?" I was like, "I haven't gotten a good take yet." Like
it's so hard. Oh my god,
so hard. And like every video of mine starts off with, "We're gonna." Yeah.
Me having to learn how to edit out my ums and my oh my god. Yeah, it's a struggle. Gotten better though.
I feel like this is what you have to do. You're gonna have to do moving forward. If you want to be a part of this, which I'm not saying it's like a bad thing or a negative thing. You just gotta show off who you are. Like you're gonna have to take the opportunity to put yourself out there so that this is gonna be the easiest way for them to consume it. And see all of you is kind of what it is. Right. So I don't know. I find it now it's fun. Like now it's fun to think of. It is. What can I create instead of like watching other people's stuff? So
yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad you understand.
I do, yes, and it has definitely gotten more fun for me. And I think just kind of because I knew at the very beginning, like I go into a very deep research phase before I do any big decision. Yeah. Like if I'm learning a new like design technique or if I'm learning 3D, which I'm still, doing a whole process. Yes. But with YouTube, finding videos that are just like all of them pretty much saying you just gotta start. Like that's literally all you have to do. And then I knew from there too that like I know I'll get better over time. I know how to edit, being more of an edit flow, how to cut video, and just, kind of script myself in a way without scripting and just all that kind of stuff. It comes with time.
It does. Yeah. And I've always been into YouTube. Like I've always been a consumer of it. So it's like interesting that I never wanted to kind of do it myself.
Same.
But I feel like I've learned a lot from just being a part of people who consume YouTube. So
totally.
It's out there. The information's out there. That's how I learned how to design. I just YouTubed it.
Yeah. It's insane.
So, okay. I think we got 2 more questions left.
Okay.
I'm gonna change this question for time. Who is your top design inspiration at the moment?
Oh, just one. Okay. I had 3. Yeah. I had 3 ready.
Okay.
I'll list all 3, but I'll go more into one. How about that?
Okay. That works.
Joshua Noom. So actually, they're mostly illustrators, which is interesting. They have more of an illustration background, but so Joshua Noom, he's done all kinds of stuff. I can't even get into it. Sarah Beth Morgan and Reese Parker. So Joshua Noom has more of an illustration design background, and Sarah Beth Morgan and Reese Parker, they're pretty young. I think they're like in their mid-20s, like early 30s. But they're more in the motion design realm, with a like illustration design background. That's something that I always learned kind of in like my internship time and like in college, is that with motion design is the most important aspect by far. If you have a shitty design, you're going to have a shitty animation. And so just listening to how these people approach their work and showing process, they're really great about showing process. And I think Sarah Beth has like a master class and just, like showing the nitty gritty side of how they go about doing something, which a lot of people don't want to show because they don't want to give away the secrets, but that's how anyone gets better. But yeah, those 3 people for sure.
That's dope. Yeah. I don't agree with like, you're not going to give anything away. Like,
because you have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you have to actually practice and do it. Like just because the secret's out doesn't mean you're going to be able to just do it.
100%. Like So I will give one right now, because I don't necessarily know all of them because I only thought of one. But right now I'm super into John Contino's work. Like,
sounds so familiar. Why does that sound familiar?
If you look him up, you probably will.
I will.
I'm super into it. I bought his book and everything. And like, I have been recently really into lettering, but lettering's just one of those things where it's like, I feel like everybody does it like super crisp and clean. And crisp and clean has never been my art style my whole life.
Me either.
So when I first found lettering, I was like, okay, we're gonna just try to make it crisp and clean, and it never came out right. Then I found John Contino, and it was just like, yeah, you could do whatever.
Oh my god, yeah. I just saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw some of his work, and I was like, yeah, okay, I've seen a lot of this before. Totally agree. Totally know what you're saying. Yeah.
So you kind of get to just do. I mean, there's still the background of lettering and understanding like letter shapes and stuff like that, but just the freedom to kind of have your own style about it. I've just been totally embracing that and like have kind of fallen in love with it.
Totally.
And then also fallen in love with like my art style. Before I used to like get super like not upset, but like comparative, where I'd be like, well, they can do that. Why can't I do that? Right. But now I'm just like, oh, this is just me. Like, let's let it be me and let's move on kind of thing.
I love that part of being a designer that not a lot of people think about, of like, you will get to that point one day where you're not saying to yourself, well, why can't I be as good as this person and do that and whatever, where again, everyone has a unique voice, and especially when it comes to visual, like putting it visually, that comes with time and being able to accept that like, this is me, this isn't me, and leaving it at that. But I think that's a great point though, in terms of like kind of breaking the rules with like lettering and stuff, of like, it's the whole thing of, once you know the rules, you can just break them however you want, and
for sure,
it'll work.
Yeah. So and I always love Chutzpah's always a good follow.
Absolutely.
Forever. They're amazing. They're so talented.
Yep.
will never stop shouting them out.
Same. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing bad to say about the work that they do, them as people. Like, yeah, they're just great. They're idols.
Yeah. And the funny, like, I always have a funny, like, it's not really that funny, but one day I didn't even post anything recently, but they had commented on one of my posts and I was like, what is going on?
They do to my stuff too. Sometimes I tend to forget all the time that I'm like, holy shit, you know, chutzpah is commenting and shit on. Yeah, it's insane. Like, that is like just a testament to how great that community is. Like, I wouldn't have, especially being freelancers where we don't have colleagues, like we don't have work friends, like that community is basically it for me. We're like the people that we go to for questions and inspiration and resources, and like everyone's just so cool and they're literally all over the place. I think that's the best part of the whole, you know, networking connections thing, is everyone's everywhere.
For sure. Yeah. So yeah, they're always an inspiration and always will be, because they kind of, even that one, you're like, they show up and they're like, this is great, and you're like, I'm great.
Yeah, you're like what? Me?
I'm great.
Yeah. Like, no,
I was like, oh, stop. Shoot. Price just went up. Yesterday's price is not today's price.
My rate just went up, everyone. Sorry. It's so sad.
So yeah, they'll always be an inspiration.
Totally.
Okay. So last question. What is your design end game? I asked everybody this question.
Oh, man.
What does the end of the road look like for you? The sun setting, you're on a horse, you're just traveling out into the sunset.
I'm on a cow in Germany.
You're on a cow in Germany, traveling out into the sunset. What does it look like?
Oh my God. That's a question I actually think about every now and then while I'm working, just like randomly in the day, of just like, what is my actual goal of all of this? And I don't know if that's like, if you're speaking of like retirement, like when that time comes, or just like with anything. I mean, I've never actually thought of myself having an end game, because this has been my entire life. I think 5th grade was when I officially, that light switch turned off, where I was like, I'm into art, and I started with painting and then just like did all kinds of shit from there. So it's been mostly my whole life. And so thinking of not having that in some aspect, it hasn't even been a thought. But I think like in terms of like things that I want to accomplish in my career, and you know, if that's like towards the end of it or whatever, I think just having a lot of great relationships with people, at other designers, and meeting more people, I think is like a huge thing, especially because of 2020 and just you know, how that transpired, and just you know, all of that. But doing good work, I mean, that's just kind of a lifelong goal, is just to, I think, also just always learning. That's something that's kind of been a pillar. Excuse me. Always learning has been a pillar for me, I think, and especially since going freelance, realizing that of like, I just can't stop like looking up things and just like wanting to know how to do something, and just trying to kind of plug that into the stuff that I'm doing, and just relating to that on a different level. So I think always learning, whether that's design or just, you know, again, more relationships or just life things in general, but never stop growing and learning. And I think one day it could be cool to teach. I don't know. I have no idea. I think like being some kind of like art director, creative director, you know, when you talk about like career goals, I think those are like definitely in my line of sight, but I have no idea where or when. But yeah, just like stuff like that, just to be able to be involved as much as possible, I think, in the world of design.
I love that. It's just, you have like, that's when you can tell someone has like a pure love or passion. They always say like, that person has a passion for the game. And like, I feel like that's everything you just said. Is just like, I need it. Like you started by saying I need it. Living without it is not something that I'm able to do. And I feel that I know for some people, this is like a moment in their life. They're like, I'm doing this now. I might transition to something else.
Totally.
But I can't see myself. I want to do it 24/7. I make videos about doing it. Like,
right. Exactly. Like if there's not a more like immersive way to be a designer, is to talk about, nonetheless, make videos about talking about making designs.
Yeah. So I totally feel that. I respect it. Learning is huge. I'm sure you'll probably have a team under you eventually, and you'll be giving them all of what they need, and training up little Johnny to be the best designer he can.
I hope so. I can't wait to meet you, little Johnny, wherever you are out there. One day we'll work together.
So yeah, that's sick. I don't know. I've thought about even now. I'm like, I would love to go and like talk to kids about this, like, and teach them their first Photoshop class or Illustrator class. It's like, because it's something, once you introduce the kid to this, like I remember when I was introduced to it, I was introduced to Photoshop, and I was like in love, and I didn't even scratch the surface of the capabilities. Like, it's just something that can, again, grow with you through your whole life, because those programs can be used for so many different things that you don't even realize what's totally there. Like, I probably had an Adobe subscription for like 10 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When's our Adobe anniversary coming up of them taking our money and us using their shit? Yeah. I
feel like we should eventually be grandfathered in. They're like, you guys can just have this for
the inner circle. Yes, exactly. Yes. Oh man, that's so true. Yeah, I always think, I mean, that reminds me of just like how pivotal those teachers are in like our past, like wherever they were, college, high school, middle school, even, of just introducing you to something that like turned that switch, and just how like that literally defined what I'm doing for the rest of my life. And just always thanking them in the back of my mind, and like, yeah, to be that to someone one day, I think would just be like the creme de la creme of career. Like,
that's it. Like, you made it. Like, because I always say that about, like, again, there's not a lot of people in the design field that look like me. So sometimes I'm like, dang, like that kind of sucks. But it also is an opportunity for me. It is, because it's an opportunity for me to, again, put myself out there, be forward about what I'm doing, and let people know that this is an opportunity. Like, you can actually do this. You don't have to you don't have to be an engineer, a lawyer, doctor, NBA, NFL. You can literally just design and play on your computer all day. Yeah. That's it. Like, so I just, again, I always want to, when I get the chance to spread the message, like, you can do this. Anybody can do this. So I hope you got Johnny, I got Timmy, and we're just going to change the world.
I'll get us some plaques made for our desk.
Yeah. Timmy's mentor is going to go on my desk. That'd be sick.
Oh man, that's great.
But I feel like this was dope. This is a dope time. This is
so fun. This is like the best thing ever. This needs to be like an all-time standard for podcasts in general, not just like design. This is just great. The most refreshing kind of podcast, honestly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There was a lot of thought that went into it, and
I know, I can tell. I can't imagine how long you just stew up questions. Like, do you just have like a notebook of just random questions that you just I love that. That's amazing.
It's actually on my phone. It's the note app. I have like, and I get nervous before every one of these, because I'm like, oh God, do I have any questions? Right. And then I went back to it and I was like, I got questions. I'm okay. Like,
got a backlog from like 2013.
Yeah, it's so fun though. Like, this is what I wish. I mean, my first podcast it is what it is. But like, this is what I ultimately wanted to do. Yeah. So you got to think about like how long I had been thinking about it. Totally. And like, I tried to find a partner the one time. I tried to find a partner after that, and it was just like one of those things where I was like, bro, like a co-host. You're gonna have to do it yourself. Yeah. Yeah. So I like it one-on-one though. I feel like the energy is good. So yeah, it's a fun thing. It's amazing. Let everybody know where to find you on the socials. Okay. Right now. Yes. You can find me. I was like, what's my line in my script? AudreyStemen.com. Ball of Odd on Instagram and Twitter, because Oddball was taken. That's why it's Ball of Odd. So Oddball, wherever you are,
Yeah.
Ball of Odd is
Thank
better.
you. I think so
Yeah.
too. So Ball of Odd, and I think that's about it. It's like the main ones. Just my name and Ball of Odd.
Dope. Yeah, you're on Twitter, you're on YouTube, Instagram, the links in anywhere else? Behance, Dribble, all the places.
Yeah, Behance kind of, not really. I need to look at that. Dribble is a thing. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah.
I feel like we all have these profiles.
Again, the visibility is like, I'm dead serious about it. Like,
she's like a spotlight. She's the bat symbol. Like, come find me. I'm here.
Oh my God.
All right. But I want to, if you guys have made it to the end, I want to thank you for watching. Our audio listeners, YouTube listeners, I want to thank you guys for being a part of this. I always have such a good time with my guests, and I'm glad I get to share these types of moments with everybody else. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.
Bye, guys.